Well, here are the 8 additional rows we put on that were just the V-stitch, double crochet, V-stitch, double crochet, all the way around. So that is now finishing the skirt part of this. And we're going to move on to the bodice. Now I mentioned that we wanted to make sure we moved the markers up as we went, so we had a placeholder for the markers. Well, here's what we're going to do with them now in preparation for this bodice. We're going to take all of our markers and we're going to move them forward to the next closest space between the 3 double crochet groupings. So for example here, we're going to move that marker right in between these two right here. Well, maybe. Oh, I just pulled that a little bit. Okay, we're going to put it right in the middle here. There we go. So that's right in between there. Go find your next marker. You see it's in the middle of that. We want to put it in between the 2 groups. So we're going to put that one right there. And we want to do that with each of our markers. Just want to make sure we're looking at it correctly. Put it here instead. So we're moving each one of those forward in the same direction. And I think we have 2 more. Just did that one. Here's this one. This one. That's in the middle there. Want to put it in between. Was there another one? No, that should be it. Okay. So now our markers are in the right place to start the bodice. Sorry, I want to get this situated. Okay, so our markers are all in the right place for the bodice, and now we're going to start the next row, which is the first row of the bodice, and I'm going to have to rejoin this. Came out a little bit while I was fixing those markers. Okay, so for the bodice, the first row of the bodice is going to be now an increase row. So we did all that tapering to do a decrease row. Now we're going to do an increase row. So you want to turn your work again. Now we're going to work the opposite direction, just like we've been doing all along. We've been turning our work, which again I know is a little unusual, but it helps keep things aligned appropriately for this pattern. All right, so turn your work. And we're going to do a V-stitch like we did. If we were going to continue the pattern, the next row would be V-stitch. So slip stitch over to the middle, double crochet of that 3, do your 4 chain and a double crochet in that same stitch for your first V-stitch. Continue to do a V-stitch in the center of every one of those groups of 3 double crochets until you get to the marker. And then we have one more here. Oops, forgot to yarn over there. So there's our next grouping. And we're used to that place marker being in the middle of that. It's not, it's in between now, so it's a little bit different this time. Okay, so we did our V-stitches all the way to that marker. Now you're going to want to remove your marker, and in that space between the 2 groups of double crochets, you're going to actually add a double crochet there. So this is how the increase is going to happen, by adding a stitch right there in between. It's just 1 double crochet, and then you'll continue on with your V-stitches until you get to the next marker. So before we get too far, make sure you put your place marker back in that single double crochet that you just added. and then continue on with your V-stitches all the way around. Every time you have a place marker, make sure you're adding a double crochet right in between the two groups of 3 double crochets. And then when you're done going all the way around, what you should have is 38 V-stitches plus 6 of the single double crochets, that was confusing, of those 6 double crochets that you added as you went along to each of those place markers. So go ahead and continue to do this all the way around, doing your increase by adding that double crochet. Don't forget to move up your place markers there, and then I'll meet you back at the start. So we finished that first row of the bodice where we had the increase of 6 double crochets, and now for the second row of the bodice we're going to turn our work and then, like normal, put in our 3 double crochet groupings for every V-stitch. Now when you come to the place marker, this is not an increase or a decrease row, so you're just going to put a double crochet where that double crochet is, where that place marker is. And then be sure to put your place marker back like previous. So there's that double crochet that we added. Just gonna put my place marker back, and then we're gonna continue all the way around. So put in your groupings of 3 double crochet, and every time you have a place marker, put a double crochet in there, and then we'll come back here and talk about row 3. Okay, we have finished the round 2 of the bodice, and we're going to turn our work and go to round 3 of the bodice. Now this is just going to be another V-stitch row, and this is not an increase row, so we're not going to do anything special when we get to those place markers. So go ahead and slip stitch over to the middle double crochet, do your chain 4 and your double crochet into the same stitch, and then continue to do your V-stitches until you get to that place marker where the double crochet is. And then all you're going to do, since it's not an increase row, is just do a double crochet there, and then continue on with your V-stitches. And every time you get to one of the place markers, just put in a double crochet and continue on until you come back here. Our 4th row will be an increase row. So go ahead and do this row, and then when you get done, come back here and we'll talk about the 4th row as an increase row. I finished the V-stitch row 3, and this one just has the double crochet where the place markers are. And then I went ahead and turned my work and I started row 4. Now row 4 is the 3 double crochets in every V-stitch, but this is also an increase row. So the way we're going to increase here is go ahead and do your 3 double crochets in each V-stitch that started with the chain 3 there at the beginning. And when you get to the place marker, we're going to put 2 double crochets into the double crochet where that place marker was. So instead of just 1, we'll go ahead and put 2 right there. And then when you put your place marker back, put it right in between the 2. So I'm going to go ahead and put the place marker right there in between the 2 of them. And then I'm going to continue on with my 3 double crochets into each V-stitch. So that's all you need to do for this round. 3 double crochets in every V-stitch, and when you get to the place markers, put 2 double crochets in there, and then put your place marker back in between the 2 double crochets that you just made. So go ahead and finish that off, and I'll meet you back at the end. So after you finish your round 4 of the 3 double crochets and the increases by putting in the 2 double crochets, for row 5 you're going to run and turn your work, and we're going to do V-stitches this time. So similar to before, slip stitch over to the center, do your 4 chain there, and go ahead and start doing your V stitches. This is not an increase row. So when you get to your marked space, which has the 2 double crochet, all you're going to do is put in 2 double crochet and then put your place marker back in between the 2 double crochet that you just made. So here are those 2, that's where the increase was from the last round. Go ahead and put in 2 double crochet right on top of those. And put your place marker back in between those 2 double crochet. And then continue on with your V-stitch. And you'll want to do that all the way around. Every time you have your place marker, just do your 2 double crochets and move your place marker up. And in the others, just go ahead and put in your V-stitch. Then we will meet back here and talk about the next row. So after we finished row 5 of the bodice, I went ahead and turned our work. And for row 6, this is also not an increase row. So we're going back to our pattern of 3 double crochets in every V-stitch. And then when we come to the place marker, since it's not an increase row, we're just going to put a double crochet in each of the double crochets there. Get it in the right one. There and there. Okay, so just, let me move these out of the way so you can see. So just a double crochet in each of the double crochets. We'll put our place marker back in between those 2. And then continue on with our pattern of putting the 3 double crochets in every V-stitch. So for this row, that's all you want to do. Keep going around, put 3 double crochets in every V-stitch and a double crochet in each of the double crochets here where the place marker is, and move that place marker up. So finish that and we'll talk about next row. Okay, we finished row 6, which were your groups of 3 double crochets and then a double crochet in each of the 2 where your marked space was. And now we're going to get to row 7, which is an increase row. So this is a V-stitch row. We're continuing that back and forth pattern. So I went ahead and turned my work and started off my V-stitches here. And this time, when we get to that marked space where it's the 2 double crochets there, we are going to do a V-stitch in between those 2 double crochets. So all you're going to do here is put your hook between the 2 stitches and then go ahead and do your V-stitch. So there's your V-stitch right in between those 2. And of course, as normal, put your marker there in the middle of your V-stitch so you can keep track of that. And there you've added another stitch there. So go ahead and continue to do your V-stitches, and then every time you get to this marked space where you have 2 double crochets, add a V-stitch in between there, and then we'll meet back here for row 8. Okay, so we finished row 7, our V-stitch increase row, but I forgot to mention one item. We do want to move the place markers. So before you go on to rows 8 and 9, what you want to do is move the marker to the space right before. So we had it here in that V-stitch that we made. We actually want to move it to the space right before. So go ahead and take all your place markers and just move it to that space, not the actual V-stitch. And then you'll be ready to go. So for rows 8 and 9, there are no increases, nothing special about those. Row 8 and 9, you're just going to go ahead and do your 3 double crochets in each group or in each V-stitch. So go ahead and turn your work and do 3 double crochets in each V-stitch. When you finish that row, turn your work and do a V-stitch in the center of each of those 3 double crochets. So move your place markers, do row 8 and 9, and then come back here and we'll talk about what the increase row for row 10 is. Okay, so we finished the rows 8 and 9, and that's just the repeat of the 3 double crochets and the V-stitches. We've got our place markers that we moved up along the way, and now we're going to do row 10, which is an increase row. So you're going to turn your work and you're going to start the row like normal. The next one in the pattern would be the groups of 3 double crochets. And you're going to go ahead and follow that until you get to that place marker, which remember is now in between stitches, right? And so to increase that row, we're just going to add 1 single double crochet in the place where you had the place marker. So that's actually in between the stitches. We've done this before. All right, so there's your increase right there. And then you go on and continue the pattern of 3 double crochets in every V-stitch. And then don't forget to go ahead and mark your stitch so that you continue with that place marker there. Continue on around your row for row 10. Every time you come to a place marker, add the double crochet in the marked space and continue on along the way. So finish off that row, moving up your place markers, and I'll meet you back here. All right, we finished row 10, our increase row, by just adding that double crochet there. And the next 2 rows are really easy. You're just going to turn your work and continue our pattern. So the next row is going to be all V-stitches. When you get to the marked place, just do a double crochet on top of that double crochet. When you finish that round with V-stitches, turn your work and you're going to do another round of these 3 double crochets in every V-stitch. And when you get to the marked place, do a double crochet and a double crochet. Those 2 are not increase rows, so you're just going to continue up like we've done before with putting double crochets on there. So go ahead and do your V-stitch row and your row with 3 double crochets and just your double crochet on top of a double crochet where your placed markers are, and we'll come back here. Okay, we finished rows 11 and 12, and now we're going to do 13, which is an increase row. So turn your work and we're going to do a V-stitch row here. And for our increase, we've done this before, very similar. For our increase, when you get to the marked place that has a double crochet in it, all you're going to do is put in 2 double crochets in that one spot. So in that double crochet right there that was marked, you're going to do 2 in the same stitch. And we've done this increase before, so you should be familiar with that. So there are your 2 double crochets in there. Go ahead and place your marker between the 2 stitches like we've done in the past. Okay, and then continue on with your V-stitches all the way around, making sure that you do 2 double crochets in the stitch where there's a place marker. Now for 14 and 15, you're going to continue to alternate. So on row 14, you're going to do the groups of 3 double crochets in every V-stitch, and when you come to the marked stitch, you're just going to do 2 double crochets. So one on top of the other. And then for 15, same thing. You're going to do your V-stitches, and when you come to the 2 double crochets, just put 2 double crochets. 14 and 15 are not increase rows, so just go ahead and do 13, which is your increase row, 14 and 15, which are not increase rows, and then we'll come back here and talk about 16. Okay, so now we finished rows 14 and 15. You should end on this V-stitch row with the groupings of 2 double crochets. And at this point, you should have, for the size small, you should have 44 V-stitches, and then of course 6 of these group of 2 double crochets. So we're going to go to row 16, which is our final increase row before we split the top into a front and a back, which I will show you. But let's do this final increase row here. So you'll want to turn your work, and we're working on a group of 3 double crochets. Okay, so go ahead and start your 3 double crochet in each V-stitch. And when you get to the marked space where the 2 double crochets are, you are going to want to put 3 double crochets. Let me move this out of the way so you can see. You're going to want to put 3 double crochets in that space, almost as if this was a V-stitch, which it's not, but you're going to want to put 3 double crochets in there. So 1, 2, oops, I missed one, there, and 3. Okay, so you have 3 double crochets in between those 2 from the previous round, and then when you put your place marker back, you're going to want it between the 2 groupings that you just finished. So go ahead and put your place marker there. Doesn't want to go through. Nope. Go ahead and put your place marker there, and you want to continue this all the way around. 3 double crochets in every V-stitch and 3 double crochets in between the 2 double crochets where your place marker is. So go ahead and finish that. Come on back here, and then we're going to show how you split between the front and the back for the top part of the dress. Okay, we finished row 16, and we have all groups of 3 double crochets, and you should now have 50 of those groups for the size small. So we're going to actually fasten off here, and we're going to start working on the front. So let's fasten off first. Oops. Pull that through. Okay, and then we're going to turn our work so that we're on the right side of the garment. And we're going to want to join between the second to the last and third to the last group that we finished when we were on the other side. So second to last, third to last, right in between here, we're going to do a join right in that space in between, just with a slip stitch. So let me get my yarn here. And we're just going to do a little slip stitch here, and then we're going to do a chain 3 right there in that space. Now, as we work the front, instead of working the round now, we're just going to work back and forth, and we'll do the whole front, and then we'll go to the other side, and we'll work back and forth, and we'll do the back. So we did our chain 3, now we're going to turn. Okay, and there's your chain 3 post, and then what you want to do from here is do a V-stitch in, oh, and I'm sorry, before we do that, you can remove all your markers. So we're done with these. You can either do it now or on your way, but the markers were for the shaping and all the increases and decreases. So we should be done with that for now. Just gonna get them out of my way. Okay. So we have our chain 3 post at one end here, and now we're going to do a V-stitch in the top of the next 21 groups. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way across until you have a V-stitch in the top of every group. Come back here and I'll tell you how to end that, and then we'll turn and do row 2. Okay, so when you finish row 1, you'll have 21 of these V-stitches going across. And then we're going to end with a double crochet in between these two groups of 3 double crochets. So this is the last one where you put the 21st V-stitch, and then right in that space there, do your double crochet, and that'll finish out that row 1. Now for row 2, we're going to chain 3 and turn. Remember, we're going to work back and forth just on the front now of this dress. Okay, so you did a chain 3 and turn, and in this first V-stitch you're going to want to do a 1 double crochet. Okay, and then in each of these next V-stitches you'll want to do 3 double crochets in each, like we have been doing, but only until you get to this last V-stitch here. When you get to this V-stitch here, you're just going to do a single, just 1 double crochet, and that will be the end of this row. So go ahead and do 3 double crochets and all the rest, and when you get to this last one, do 1 double crochet, and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so we're at the end of row 2, and we now have 19 groups of 3 double crochets, and we did the single double crochet in that last V-stitch instead of a group. And to end this, you are going to do a double crochet in the top of the chain from the previous row, and that's how you will end row 2. Now for row 3, we're going to start with a chain 4, and that's going to act as a triple crochet, and we'll have one at the end as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to turn your work, and in the first group here, this first group of 3, you're going to put 2 double crochets in the center of that group. So here is 1 and 2. Instead of a V-stitch, we just put 2 double crochets. And now you'll go ahead and put a V-stitch, just like normal, in the center of each of your groups of 3 until you get to the last group of 3. So in the last group of 3, you're going to want to do a 2 double crochets here, and then a triple crochet in the top of the chain right here at the end. So go ahead and do your V-stitches across, and then I'll meet you back here at the end. So at the end of row 3, we went ahead and put a triple crochet in the top of that chain there, and we're going to chain 4. That's going to count as another triple crochet, and turn. And you can see the edges of these are being tapered in as we go, and these decreases are kind of happening automatically here. Yeah, see, that's a nice taper there too. So we did a chain 3, which counted as a triple crochet, and now you want to do your 3 groups of 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space of every V-stitch. Now remember, this is not a V-stitch, that's just 2 double crochets, so you're skipping that, and you're going right into that first V-stitch there and doing your 3 double crochets, and you're going to do that all the way across to the end. And then when you get to the other end here, 3 double crochets in here, and then a triple crochet in the top of this chain 4 from the previous round. Nothing with these 2 double crochets here. So go ahead and do your triple crochets all the way across. We'll meet you back here. So now at the end of row 4, you should have 17 groups of 3 double crochets for the size small. And now we're just going to do 3 more rows that just alternate the V stitches and the 3 double crochet groups. So you'll want to chain 3 and turn, and then go ahead and put in your V stitches in the center of every 3 double crochet. At the end, you'll want to put a double crochet in the top of the chain. Then you'll want to chain 3 and turn again. This time do the opposite pattern. In this case, it would be the 3 double crochets, and double crochet at the end, chain 3, turn, and do your V stitches. So go ahead and do 3 rows, 3 alternating rows, V stitch, double crochet, and then V stitch, and then meet me back here at the end.